Welcome to Girl Choose Yourself, where we're trading self-doubt for self-trust and settling for soaring. I'm Eimear, your host, and together we're building the confidence to create lives so deliciously bold that they scare us a little, but in the best possible way. Because life's too precious to stay cozy in our comfort zones. It's time to choose ourselves for lives that are fabulous and soulfully fulfilling. So let's go. Hi, it's Eimear, and this year on the podcast, I'm spotlighting women founders who are making the world a better place for women. They are seeing gaps and they're stepping forward with creative solutions. Today, I am joined by Vanessa Karel. She is the founder of Greether, which is a travel platform for women built on safety, trust, and connection. She was voted one of the most influential women in travel in 2025, and her company, Greether, was named Best Travel Startup of 2025. You're going to love this episode. Let's dive in. So welcome to the podcast, Vanessa. Thank you so much for making the time today. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Eimear, for inviting me, and can't wait to talk more.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to jump right in because when you founded your company, Greether, you were really a woman who was facing a problem herself, and then you decided, I need to solve this, and then it became something that's just spreading across the world. So can you take us back to that point where you were having your own pain point that was the birthplace of Greether, and tell us about that?
Absolutely. First of all, I like to say, and I say this often, that I think I was destined to create Greether. I think Greether was born before I even realized it. I think that a lot of times you start a business or you begin a project and people think that it's just like one single moment that made it happen. But sometimes it's just like the last year, like the last drop in the glass, that makes you go. And so Greether started after having an experience in 2020 when, when the global pandemic was happening and everywhere was shut down for travel, and I got stranded in Morocco. So I guess the birthplace for the idea came from my travels in Morocco, in which I quickly realized after getting rerouted on a flight I wasn't supposed to be in and landing to a city at an airport where I didn't know anybody, and I wouldn't have anybody to greet me in, quickly noticed that there was not a service that I could find that would help me feel more at ease, more comfortable as a woman. And unfortunately, I did experience a few scary situations while I was in Morocco that surprised me, and it made me think, like, why isn't there a safer way for women to travel around the world? And all I kept doing was looking for female guys or women who I could trust, or like I kept asking people if they knew someone there that I could connect with just in case, and I didn't know anybody. So fast forward, I spent a little bit over a month in Morocco, in which I experienced a few really unfortunate situations, and luckily nothing happened to me, but that made me think about this more and about this problem, and kind of just, I was fed up, I want to enjoy traveling. I don't want to have to worry and like, it's just uncomfortable of like having men following me or being harassed. And now my company doesn't solve street harassment, right? I don't think any company in the world can do that, but we do create a way for women to feel more confident when they're navigating. So fast forward to me returning from Morocco, I started writing a book about all of my pandemic travel stories and what it meant to travel as a woman. And so that led me to a research in which I interviewed over 500 female travelers and quickly realized that I wasn't alone, that more women wanted to solve this issue, that more women wanted to either travel but were scared to do it, or women who were traveling already were feeling unsafe, and that safety was their number one concern when traveling. And I was kind of like, enough, we need to solve this, or we need to have a tool that helps with this pain point. And a lot of women in my life then and now even were feeling like they couldn't travel by themselves. Like, I'm not capable of traveling solo because I'm going to be scared. I'm going to be lonely. I'm going to be bored. How am I going to communicate? And so I had this idea of creating Greether for helping women feel more confident by connecting them to local women who they could trust to get navigated around.
Such a fabulous idea, and so simple in its, inception as well. Because I know, as a woman who's traveled a lot and sometimes by myself, that I just have that exact experience of kind of, this would be more fun if there was somebody here that I knew, and going out by yourself is okay, but it has some restrictions. And it's just opening a whole other world of travel and bringing not just the safety, but really enriching the experience. So just explain for the listener exactly what Greether is offering for them.
Yes, absolutely. Have you ever gone to a place where you have a friend who lives there and then they welcome you and show you around their favorite spots? They have been giving you recommendations and tips before you even went there? Well, that's what Greether does. Literally, Greether connects female travelers to verified local women who we call greeters. So you can book them wherever you're traveling to get navigated and have someone trustworthy and local, through text messaging before you even travel there. It's almost like hiring besties wherever you're traveling to. And we call them greeters because a lot of times, these women are women who have licensing for being tour guides, but sometimes they're also women who have, this willingness to help women travel there, and like they have experience in tourism. They speak English most of the time, and they are someone who's going to still give you a great quality experience. We know that tour guiding is already done well. Like, you can book tours like the regular tours that where they tell you the history of the pyramids and the history of the museum. But this is not what we do. What we do is really having someone local show you their hometown, take you to the hidden gems that made you decide to go there for the first time. And for female travelers, us as women, we like personalized things. We are also completely different. We know there might be something that you're into that I'm not. And so when you book a greeter, everything is personalized to them. So this is one of the very first services that is out there that for travelers, for women in mind, completely, from the beginning to end. In fact, travelers are able to pick the meetup spot, and they tell us how long they want the greeter to be there with them. And they pay according to the amount of time they want someone physically with them and the destination. So, pricing varies according to the city that you're traveling to. And Greether began for solo travelers, but now we do groups of women traveling together as well.
I love that because it opens so much. And I think I was saying before we began recording that I came across Greether on social media and I was like, wow, I'm actually planning to go to Tokyo at some point, and I also really want to go to Seoul in Korea. And I speak I speak quite good Spanish. I speak some French. I speak some German. But it's a different experience when you're in a country where you've no idea of the language.
Yeah.
And so the idea of having a greeter for there, I was thinking, well, that just opens up so much possibility. So if I were booking something with Greether and you say it could be a certain amount of time, first of all, I want the listeners to know, and you tell them this, how many countries you're in now where you're offering this service, because it's really spreading and it's amazing.
Yes. So currently we have a community in over 100 countries across over 1,000 cities. But I would say you will find us mostly where tourists and travelers are going to. So the top destinations, like you just mentioned, Tokyo, Seoul, Paris, all those main hubs, we will likely be there. Basically, when you go to greether.com, you browse by the destination. We have like a little search navigation bar. And if a destination doesn't show up, it means we don't have greeters or we don't have enough there. but you can always request them. So if we have enough time and we do have greeters in that section or that area, we can request them and see if they're available. Otherwise, it's an immediate booking that comes through, and then that sends an alert to our greeters in the area. We try to match make as much as possible with the interests that you share with us and your travel profile, so we can have you like have the best greeter for you. And yeah, so all around the world. And the best part about Greether, and my favorite part at least, is that we are for progress company. So we're creating a lot of social impact with Greether, because every time someone's booking a Greether, they're employing women around the world. They're creating a job opportunity for them. So we have been receiving a lot of recognition globally in a really quick time. In fact, the UN World Tourism Organization named us one of the 3 most empowering female travel companies in the world, because we are generating income opportunities. So not only are you getting a really cool, like personalized experience, but you're also helping create economic opportunities for women. And that's just like a huge win, right? Because most of the times you don't know where your money is going to when you're traveling and when you're spending your dollars,
It's such a win-win. And I think that's why it's going to appeal, why it does appeal, and why I got so excited about it as well, was saying, it's not just for me. I'm, also supporting other women around the world who have the opportunity to earn extra money and to do something that they love and to connect with other women. And it's such a virtuous sort of cycle that you're creating in this model, which is amazing. And so the experience is like, if I were going to, let's use Tokyo again, and I decided I'm there for, say, a week, I could be booking a greeter one day, I could book another greeter the next week for another experience. So it's right. So I could do it for different types of things. And
Absolutely.
Also, I love the idea of I think you talk about this too, for the solar traveler, and everything's on Instagram, isn't it? People love to they're on a trip of a lifetime, or they're visiting a new city, and they want to get all those great photographs, and your greeter is your bestie for taking the best photographs of you as well for your IG content.
That is an added perk, and one that I really use a lot. I do have the privilege of being able to travel every now and then, test our own services. And I go in as a secret shopper. We don't tell them that I'm the founder, but if they do enough research, they have known before, like a few of the greeters, they're like, you don't work at Greether, you seem familiar. But sometimes they don't know. And one of the best parts is like, just like how it really does feel like having a friend there, and after the experience, you really acquire a friendship, like if you want, right? Like, and there's a match. And I'm still in touch with all the greeters I've met, and we see a lot of friendships being formed. There's not a metric we can track, but friendships are being formed. And like also Greether, I consider Greether also an age tech company, because we see a lot of senior female travelers. We have had travelers 80 and above using Greether and on solo trips, and they see Greether as a great tool for them to travel, in an accessible way, right? A lot of the times, depending on your age, the way you travel is differently, and sometimes as you age, it becomes more challenging. And so, having a Greether by your side who can maybe help you navigate Paris, or like even public transportation, can be a huge help. But also for companionship, I began Greether because I was crazy and I wanted to go to really scary places or like so-called scary places. And I thought we were only going to be popular in those places, but turns out we're getting booked in places like Iceland. We have travelers go to Norway and Japan and Singapore, really safe cities. It's not just about the safety aspect. It's also about the connection, women connection, and learning about what it's like to be a woman in that place. What is their culture like? In Tanzania, in Zanzibar, what is it like to be from Quito, Ecuador? And that has been really surprising to me, because I began Greether thinking, oh, we're only going to be popular in Morocco, in Mexico City, in Istanbul, in Egypt. And we are, but we're also seeing these amazing travelers go to, other destinations that I hadn't even thought of, and it's been really fun.
That's a beautiful sort of evolution of, and also a kind of sharing just how you have this idea for something that you're going to build, And when you're in that moment, you imagine it a certain thing. But as you start to walk along the path of that creative process and, building that business, then you get feedback that just makes it so much more than what you could have imagined. Once you get into motion with the idea, it sort of grows and takes on this new life. And I think what you're saying about the different age profiles, the different destinations and locations where you maybe didn't expect that you would be popular, it does speak to this larger feeling amongst women, people in general, but women feeling that they're thirsty for connection, like meaningful connection and meaningful experiences. And like you say, it's not just about that deep need to feel like I'm a bit nervous in this place. It'd be great if I had somebody to show me around, but it's just like, I don't feel nervous in this place, but it'd be great to have somebody to show me around. I do want to take us back just at something that I didn't understand. And if I didn't, I'm sure somebody didn't either. You said it was an H-Tech company before you started talking. Can you explain what that term means?
Greether is offering a very special promotion just for listeners of Girl Choose Yourself. If you're interested in trying the Greether service, you can get $10 off your first experience by entering the code Choose Yourself when you're making that booking. Choose Yourself is all one word, and you'll find more details in the show notes.
Yes, absolutely. H-Tech refers to technology that's built also for senior people in mind, or older demographic. And I began Greether thinking we're going to be super popular with just only the millennials because I'm a millennial, but then we started getting a lot of, news press, mentions, and who's watching the news is women 60 and above, and we started getting a lot of bookings from them. And we were like, oh my God, of course, they are women who have freedom to travel. Their kids are in college or they're retired and they want to start, spending their money in the things that matter to them. And I see Greether as a comfort too, it's like having the comfort and the luxury of having someone kind of like almost even help you plan what you're going to be doing there. It's such a luxury, and so we serve this demographic and really excited about that because a lot of times many travel companies or just tech companies ignore this segment, and we're definitely not. And we're really excited to serve this demographic of women. Of course, we have travelers who are 18 years old and their parents book their greeters because it's the first time they're traveling solo, and their mom is like, oh my God, my daughter needs a greeter in Paris and Italy. And we love that. But we see a lot of our travelers being women who, have spending power, who are professionals, who are seeing travel as one of their priorities, and experiences are really important to them. And Greether provides that, added angle. It's not just for like someone who's never traveled or like inexperienced travel. It's for everyone who sees value in these connections. As you said, AI can't replace this, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I suspect that this is very AI proof. People are really looking for that human connection and to feel like they're having a true, real experience.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the journey as a founder and how it's been, because there's always the initial excitement, right? I've got a great idea. I'm sure there are people here listening to you talking about the birth of Greether and saying, wow, that's such a great idea. And it's just like, maybe they resonate going, I've had this sort of light bulb moment of this would be a great thing to create. And then they often stall. So we have the passion and then we're bringing it into the world and it, meets an obstacle. How has that journey been for you, kind of meeting those obstacles and kind of continuing on and in the build process? Because it's a lot of work being a founder and taking an idea and bringing it into the world.
Yes, I get asked this all the time, and I don't know. I think you have to be a little crazy to begin a company or a business, first of all.
She's gone crazy, check.
Yeah, crazy check, delusional, sometimes people call it nowadays. But I think it comes back to believing in yourself and being like, I can do this. And I had a clear vision of how I wanted to solve this problem. And I was so obsessed with it. I'm still am, and passionate about it. But I say this a lot, but I think passion gets you only so far. I think discipline gets you further, because a lot of times, especially as an entrepreneur, there's many days when you wake up and you just really don't want to do the work, and you don't want to put the fires out and to tell your team what to do, or, all of the things that you have to do, or talk to investors and pitch your company. And it comes back to discipline. If I didn't have discipline, I don't think I would have gotten to where we are today. I am very ambitious as well, and this is my second company. I'm only 35 years old, so I have always had the entrepreneurship bug in me, but I don't recommend it for everybody. Trust me, I definitely don't. But I think if you have something that you're really passionate to solve, a problem that you know that a lot of people would like to see solved, please do it, like go for it. And there is no harm in trying. And so I think that when I decided to go after Greether was after I started doing the research, and I was like, there's something here, and I think people would pay to solve this, and then bingo, people, and I will never forget the first dollar that we got in, and I was like, oh my God, I was right, and it's not about the money. It's about like, this is working, this is generating impact. And every time I read our travelers' feedback, oh, it's like Christmas to me. It's like, it's my birthday every day. It's like, yes, this is great. And interestingly enough, my services or my company, I don't get to see 80% of what we do. Pretty much we serve as the platform, and then we send them out in the wild, and they're having fun, and they're doing all these experiences that we only get to see a little bit or hear about a little bit. So it's been really interesting, and it's been the most rewarding professional challenge I've given myself, and it's completely changed my life. But yes, it's a lot of work. So if I could go back in time, I would tell myself, you think it's going to be a lot of work? Triple that, amount of work that you're thinking. But yeah, it's been great.
And as you say, building that muscle of discipline, if you don't have it, that you absolutely need that. There are days when you're going to be getting up and it's not that kind of Christmassy feeling of like, yay, it's the nose to the grindstone and doing the boring stuff. And talk to me a little bit about whether you had any sort of mentor that helped you. You get this great idea. You had a background to a degree in entrepreneurship already. This is your second company. Was there a mentor that you went to? Did you, how do you attract that team around you? Because I don't think your background is more in an artistic background, wasn't it, in photography? And so you're a big technical platform here that's connecting people from all around the world. Tell us a little bit about that, getting the team, getting maybe a mentorship or.
Absolutely. Well, yes, I have had help, and I had to learn to ask for help, which is really challenging, especially for women. Women of color, even harder. And I am both. So it was a lot of sending my idea and seeing where it was landing at the beginning, So I sent my idea. I didn't know what to do with it. I was like, I have this idea on a piece of paper, the napkin, and I was like, let's see where this could take me. And so I applied to accelerator programs around the world. Accelerator programs or incubators are platforms or communities or organizations that help you. They're kind of schools, it's like going to school for entrepreneurs, and they help you get your idea to be, and like write a business plan and write a mission statement and come up with a revenue model. And I didn't have that, that's something I had to come up with. And I was really lost. And being a non-technical founder, even 5 years ago, was completely different than what it will be like today. Today, you can ask ChatGPT to write you a website, and he does it within seconds. But 5 years ago, that was not as accessible as it is now. So I went to an accelerator program in Silicon Valley virtually in 2021, and I didn't know anything about the startup life. I didn't know anybody in my life who was a tech entrepreneur, and I had zero coding skills. Like, even if my life depended on it, I couldn't code at all. And so I was like, I know what I need the technology to do. I just don't know how to get there. And like, I have the brain and have the business plan and like the marketing brain, but I started getting into these programs that teach you how to get started and like be super vulnerable. Like if I showed you what my presentation of Greether was 4 years ago to today, like you'll cry your eyes out. It was so funny. But I had to be vulnerable and I had to be willing to learn and to learn from people who knew better than me. And so I started meeting mentors or started meeting other entrepreneurs that were building tech companies in completely different industries and literally become a sponge and learning from everywhere. And I I think of my first year building Greether as the year I met the most strangers in my life, because that year I took almost every call with any person that I would meet, and I would sit with them like you and I right now, and I would just learn from them. I would just tell them about my idea, and then sometimes they will give me really bad advice. Sometimes they will give me good advice. Sometimes they will tell me things I didn't understand, but a lot of it was helpful. I don't have a business coach or something like that, but I have had acquired mentors, and like even our investors currently are people who offer, advice. But even my team that came very organically, most of my team has been people who had come because they listened to me on a podcast or at an event, and they were attracted to what we were building, or I have scouted them. But a lot of the times they teach me things. They are the experts in their fields. Like I do not know I'm like, hey, I'm just going to tell you what we need to be solved, but you figure it out. And I think that's been like really helpful for me, just like open to learning from everywhere.
I think what you spoke to there initially as well is, I mean, I love your vulnerability in acknowledging that, just the difficulty of asking for help. I think that will resonate with many women. It's like, I don't want to be the beginner. I don't want to ask for help. I don't want to look like I don't have it all together. And I think that stops many people from taking that idea that maybe is on a napkin and bringing it somewhere else. And I love that journey of a year of being the sponge and just saying, and you're going to meet people, like you say, who are not going to be very helpful, but unless you're doing that, and it takes a lot of mental and emotional energy as well. It's as part from the actual journey of creating just all of that outward facing of being the learner. How can you help me? And just asking for help is just such a powerful part of the journey. If you're looking now, I mean, you're winning awards. I saw you won a major award in London there recently. You are getting such great press, and I'm sure there are people listening now and they want to use Greether, and maybe they want to apply to be a greeter as well. It really is growing. When you're looking at it, and you spoke earlier saying at the beginning, I thought it was mostly going to be people like me and going to very dangerous places. And you've learned that, the journey teaches you and leads you in different places. When you look ahead, maybe for the next 2 years and 5 years, what's the vision that you're holding now for what Greether is going to be and what that may look like in 5 years?
Oh man, I have no idea, but I really hope that just more women know about us by then, and that we can continue generating thousands of jobs for women worldwide. That has become one of my biggest missions. And unfortunately, in travel and tourism, women actually make the majority of the jobs, but they're the least paid. And so I am definitely making a lot of people maybe upset or uncomfortable because we're trying to switch that. And we are really good at how fair our wages are for our greeters. And I really want to continue impacting, local businesses and sustainable practices. So we want to tap into more how we can provide our travelers with sustainable options when you're traveling somewhere, and like fun activities. We're also beginning partnerships with businesses. So we are now B2B. I don't want to get super technical in my terms, but like we are also building partnerships with like companies with, like, for example, like Expedia. We have partnership with them. So we are working towards becoming a platform that is helpful for women traveling with a greeter or without a greeter, and so we are adopting AI as well soon, even though we're not going to replace our greeters, but there's a lot of room for growth there to serve our travelers, before and during their trip with technology. And hopefully one day my vision is to serve more travelers that are underserved or overlooked, like travelers with disabilities. There's a lot of opportunity there. And these are the things I've learned as I go and I'm now more passionate about, So I think as an entrepreneur, you're always looking for more things to solve, more problems to solve, believe it or not. That's why I say you're crazy as a founder. But I'm excited. And right now, I just feel like this is just the beginning. Even though we've done a lot of the work, this just feels like the beginning.
And a very exciting beginning. And I love what you're kind of pointing to. And what landed for me, especially when you were describing that vision, was just servant leadership was really what I heard from what you were saying, was this deep desire to serve and to serve women. And if I may be so bold as to maybe put words in your mouth, but it feels like you really are driven to make the world a better place for women. And for me, looking at you, I think you are such an inspiring leader, especially for women, for Latina women, underrepresented at the highest level of business. And here you are blazing a trail for women. And I love what you're saying about sustainability. And I just so many ideas pop up in my head because I know I'm going to be using Greether. And I'm thinking, I could be connecting with the greeter and saying, hey, I want to go to, do you know any women-owned restaurants, or can you take me to stores that are great for souvenirs, but they're made by women? There's so much richness there for how we can serve women just at every point in the connections that you are building.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people think sustainability means recycling and eating more vegetables. But if only more people knew that it starts with empowering women, that is the number one way for us to move the needle globally in all sectors. And tourism and travel is one of the biggest ones worldwide. And there is a lot of bad things that come from tourism too. But, I do hope that we're making an impact. And I see a lot of women who are being employed as greeters who are using this as a side income, or they are single moms, or they are putting themselves through college, or they're retired and they find this fulfilling as an extra thing to do and to make connections and to just make new friends from around the world. And there is a lot of growth for opportunity for sure.
And if you're thinking now about, women who might be listening to you talking about this journey and who might be sitting on an idea that's, it started off as a small flame and it's getting bigger, but they are feeling, I don't know how to ask for help, or doubting themselves, what's a message that you would like to give them?
Yes. First of all, I think that you don't have to be thinking about a new global company. You can be thinking about a smaller project too, or a smaller business, and that's fine too. No, everybody should be building, multi-million-dollar companies. I think that's fine too if you're thinking about that. But starting small. There is this theory called the 1%. The 1%, it means just beginning. That's the 1%. That's the hardest part, right? Just taking the leap of faith of buying the domain that you've been eyeing for a long time, Googling if there is any, female empowerment business opportunity grant out there that you can apply to. It's so much easier right now with AI to write up a business plan, put it out there, try. It doesn't take that much to prove of concept nowadays. It really is really affordable. Buying a Squarespace website it costs you $20. You can just really get started, really scrap it away. Believe in yourself. I think that we will always self-doubt ourselves. And I think you mentioned something about the little self-critic that we have. And we're no, I'm not good enough to build this. But if we all thought that way, we wouldn't have progress in the world, right? So we need more businesses built by women. We need more solutions being built by women. And women, we do have that advantage of seeing the world a little differently. And there is a lot of need for services to be built to solve our problems. So if you're thinking of something, or you have an idea, or even if you have an idea to replicate someone else's business, do it better. Do it, but do it better. It's okay to steal ideas, but it just challenge yourself. I think it's scary to do it and to ask for help, but you will be surprised by how many people will respond to a cold message on LinkedIn or an email. I receive emails all the time. We're like, oh my God, how did you do it? And if I can, I will provide advice, So feel free to reach out if you're listening. But you just like take the leap, as you said, as this podcast is like, choose yourself because you won't regret it. And there is no amount of jobs that you can have that will give you the skills that beginning a business will ever.
That's beautiful. And you reminded me of the founder of Spanx when she was being asked so many times going, how did you get into, I don't think it was Neiman Marcus, but it was one of the big retailers. And she said, I asked.
Yeah.
I asked. And so many of us don't ask. And so we're stopping ourselves rather. We're assuming that the door is closed. Absolutely. And I think the quickest way to close a door is to assume that it's closed. The doors are wide open.
Yes, I have many examples of that. Actually, like there was one event that I attended this year, and I'm not going to say which one, but if you do some research, you can find out. I saw the press release for this event, and I told my team, there's this amazing team member, Stephanie, Greether, and I was like on a call with her. I was like, Stephanie, I don't know how, but I'm going to be at that event. And we couldn't find any way to apply to it. But we just emailed them constantly. We literally bombarded them. And I was on the roster for speakers, right? Like within weeks, because we asked and we like kept following up and following up. That said, that doesn't always happen. But if you try many times, like doing something, like one sticks, and so it's finding the yes that you need, like one yes, you need one yes. And then you can take it from there. So absolutely, knock on doors. The worst thing you have is a no already.
Exactly. And it's already a no if you don't ask.
Yes.
It's already a no. Tell us what choosing yourself, when you think about those words, what does that mean for you generally, or maybe in your life, in your business? What does that mean?
Oh my God, so much, because I come from, as you said, non-technical background, but I did have the pleasure of working at a really big tech company before Greether, and it was a great job and great company and whatnot, but they could never have seen the potential that I had, And I think choosing myself, I knew like I had so much more to do, and like I knew, and it's just gonna sound a little too self-showering, but I knew that I was an intelligent person, and I knew I had so much ambition and so much to do and grit. And like sometimes the job doesn't see that, or like sometimes your manager can't see that, and you have to choose yourself literally and be like, I'm gonna give and provide myself the opportunities and the challenges that I have given myself. And I think building Greether has been one of the greatest, opportunities that I created for myself, and the hardest thing I've ever done professionally, to be completely transparent. But I'm so glad I did, because now, even if Greether disappears, all the skills that I acquire now, as I mentioned before, and I say it again, like there is no job in the world that would have given me that opportunity. So I think entrepreneurship gives you that. It also gives you a lot of uncertainty. So that's why I don't always recommend it. And I know it comes from a privilege to sometimes build a business, because not everybody has the luxury of just not taking a paycheck, like for a longest time, I didn't pay myself, and sometimes I don't want to pay myself because I'm like, that's money for my team, that's money for a Greether, and that's a privilege that not everybody can do. So I understand that. So there's this thing called intrapreneurship too. You can begin a small business as a side job, or like as a side project while you're still at a job. Now you have to be careful. Not all the companies allow that, but that is a great path for women, because women are caregivers and care providers, and like sometimes you don't have that luxury that a lot of times men do, because we know why. But
We know why. We so know why.
yeah, so I think for women it's harder to choose ourselves. It's way harder, but if you have the opportunity to do it, do it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for this amazing time together. It's just been so rich. And I'm sure that the listeners are just going to be running out and kind of Googling and looking for Greether. So tell people exactly how they can connect with you, how you would like people to connect with you and Greether, so that they can begin telling everybody else that they know about it and using it themselves.
Well, it's really easy. You can find us on greether.com. And I'm sure you'll provide the link below. It's the word is, if it hasn't clicked, the word it comes from greeting her, and so I play on words. But you read Greether, but it's greether.com, and then we will soon have an app. I don't know when this is gonna air, but for now everything's bookable through our website. You can create a profile, and something that I didn't mention, but safety is our top of mind and our mission. So we verify all of the users. We have software that verifies identity for both travelers and greeters. Of course, greeters have to go through an onboarding process and an interview, but you can also email us at info@greether.com or find us on Instagram at greet.her. My email is Vanessa@Greether. It's really easy. I'm on LinkedIn as Vanessa Karel. So if any of you want to befriend me, send me a message, or if you have any ideas or collaborations, please do. Always happy to offer advice in any way I can. Or if you have any suggestions of how we can make Greether better for you, please let us know.
Thank you so much. And yes, we will be putting all the links in the show notes so that everybody can find you with ease and begin using you. And I'm very excited about the idea of the app. I will be one of the first people downloading that once you have it. And follow along on Instagram as well. I will put that link also there so that you can see all of the newest developments from Greether. And thank you again, Vanessa. It's been an absolute pleasure spending this time with you and learning all about your journey.
Thank you, Eimear. I appreciate it. It was great to be here.
Thank you so much for choosing to spend this time with me today. If you enjoy the episode and it resonated with you, please consider subscribing and share this podcast with someone you know who would benefit from the message. If you'd like to take things a step further, you'll find some free and paid resources in the show notes. And until next time, in the unlikely event that no one has told you this yet today, let me have the profound honor of reminding you that you are truly magnificent and the world is a far better and brighter place because you are here with us all. See you next time.